welcome to Jacy's Cooking. Never be Martha Stewart. Welcome to my channel. My name is Jacy, and today I'm going to be giving you all of the juicy details of how I was able to score this amazing, incredible one-bedroom apartment in Los Angeles for the entire summer on the cheap. Basically, spoiler alert if you read the title, I am subletting this apartment for the entire summer, so I wanted to share my experience as well as some tips with you guys. So if you're interested in learning more about what subletting is, why I'm subletting, some general advice, as well as just an overall moving vlog, then just keep on watching. So let's first talk about what subletting is. Essentially, a sublet is a contract under which a tenant rents out their apartment to an individual while their name still remains on the lease. So in this situation, a subtenant would work directly with the renter as opposed to a landlord, and the renter kind of functions as a middleman. This differs from simply renting out a room to a roommate because usually that roommate goes on the lease and then they're bound by the contractual obligations of that lease in particular. This also varies from simply fully leasing the place as yourself, because then all deposits, rent, maintenance, administrative costs, and utilities are up to you to set up and maintain. Whereas with a sublet, all of those details are already set up and ready for you to use, and then you just kind of pay the amount that you agreed upon with your renter. So think of it as like a long-term Airbnb where instead of using and paying the app, you're just working directly with the renter. And there's a lot of reasons why people sublet their places. You know, some people go on extended vacations that will extend over several months. Some people have to sign a new apartment lease and move into their new apartment while there's still a month or two remaining on their old lease. Or in my situation, students from the college that I went to are going home for the summer and they still have their lease through the end of the summer. So instead of losing out on some of the rent, they'll sublet their place to people like me and make some of their money back. One of the reasons I wanted to sublet a place for the summer was because I had actually planned around this time to just up and move to New York City. I knew I could work remotely with my job, and it's always been a dream of mine to finally move to the Big Apple. And so I had this timeline in my head that summer of 2020 would be the time that I actually committed to doing it. And then the coronavirus happened, unfortunately, and it kind of put a hold on those plans. You know, I realized it probably wouldn't be the most financially sustainable idea. Traveling wasn't a good idea. And then if I did want to look for a new job out there, you know, thousands of people are getting laid off and there wouldn't be that many jobs to choose from. And if there were, there's already going to be a lot of competition. So I kind of had to take a look within and realize that moving right now wouldn't be the best idea, and that I'd probably have to wait another year or two before that would be a financially sound decision. Then of course quarantine was an issue because I moved back home about a year and a half ago, and as a 26-year-old living back home, it's just kind of like, you know, you start to step on each other's toes. There's just a lot of tension in the sense that because of quarantine and isolation, we were just spending so much time together that I just felt like I didn't have my own space and I didn't have any independence. So for the summer, I really just wanted to get something short-term to just be on my own, have my own space, and figure out what my personal next steps are going to be. One of the things that was really important to me in finding a place was making sure I didn't commit to anything long-term. So with my job, when the pandemic hit, we were instructed to work from home through the remainder of the calendar year. So that's given me a little bit of leeway in the sense of where I can move to temporarily, but I'd hate to sign, you know, a 6-month or a year-long lease somewhere really far away to the point where when those work from home orders are lifted, I am expected to be back at work and now I have to make a 2-hour commute. So I was really looking for something more short-term, such as a sublet, to kind of ease that worry that it is just a temporary housing situation. I also it was really important to me that I found a place that was fully furnished. You know, I didn't need to bring a spatula, and that all of the utilities were set up, because if I am going to be staying in a place for such a short term, I don't want to have to worry about buying a bed or bringing my own pots and pans or setting up my own internet if I'm just going to be moving out in 2.5 months. So those were some things that were really important to me, which is why subletting was a great option for me. I also did look into Airbnbs, which is actually a great option, but I did find that in my research, Airbnb was a little bit more expensive and a little bit more restrictive as well, whereas with subletting, you can work directly with the renter in terms of any specific details. So some of these details include, you know, negotiating the rent, figuring out flexibility with move-in and moving out dates. I personally worked with my renters in terms of what they would provide and what I would have to provide in the sense of cleaning supplies, bedding, or any type of household needs. So subletting was a really good option for me because, again, it's just a short-term rental. I paid a flat fee for 2.5 months, and now I get to live in this awesome place for the rest of the summer. So yeah, so that's a little bit about why I'm subletting, what subletting is, and let's visit with Jacy from the past to learn a couple more tips and advice if you're interested in subletting a place. Hey guys, so I'm back in my hometown bedroom, finishing packing up, and I wanted to come at you with tip number 1, which would be to create your wish list and do some research. So when it comes to subletting a place, you have to create a wish list and what exactly you're looking for. So this includes, you know, location of where you want to live, whether the place needs to be furnished or unfurnished, if there's laundry on site, or, you know, if you get the entire place to yourself or just a private bedroom. So when I was looking into subletting places, the location was actually pretty open-ended. I knew I just wanted to get away for the summer, and it didn't really matter where as long as it was within driving distance. So that wasn't a huge deal to me, whereas for you it might be a certain neighborhood you want to live in or a certain city that would be important. What was important to me was that I get the entire space to myself and not just like a private bedroom in a house. So the whole idea for me was to kind of just get away from the summer and have like a home away from home kind of vacation experience. And I knew I wouldn't achieve that if I was holed up in a bedroom, kind of scared to go downstairs because like a family or other roommates were cooking in the kitchen or watching a movie. I really wanted my own space to kind of do my own thing. So that was important to me, as well as it being furnished, because I didn't want to have to buy a bunch of furniture for just like a 2-month lease and have to worry about moving that out once I'm gone. So those were 2 things that were really important to me. Laundry, you know, that wasn't a big deal if it was on-site or off-site. The place that I will be subletting will have on-site laundry, so that's a huge bonus. Also consider things like parking. So again, I did decide to move to LA, so parking was a huge deal in the sense that I wanted an assigned parking spot so that way I don't have to worry about going to the grocery store, coming back and not being able to find a spot anywhere close, having to walk all my Trader Joe's bags a million miles away. So parking was a huge deal, as well as, you know, if utilities are included or if there's a kitchen that you're able to use. I did see some where while it was a studio apartment, they only had like a mini fridge and a tea kettle. There wasn't a stove or a hot plate even. So again, just kind of do your research, make a wish list, and figure out what's important to you and what you would look for in a subletting place. The other tip would be do your research on the laws of where you'll be moving to. So some states and some cities have certain regulations and rules when it comes to subletting. So some places don't actually allow it, and in that case you would want to know, because if somebody's trying to sublet their place, it's going to be a more under the table kind of transaction, which again is totally fine if you're okay with that, but do prepare for that in the sense that it might not be as legit, you might be held accountable for certain damages, and you don't have the law to protect you. So again, do your research, make your wish list, and kind of plan ahead before you really start hunkering down into your research and figuring out where exactly you'll be living for your sublet. Tip number 2 would be to start your search and make sure that you're using the right website for you. So I feel like everybody's natural inclination is to use Craigslist, and that's fine, but it's one of those sites where it's kind of like use at your own risk. So I actually just did a video where I almost got scammed by going through a Craigslist listing, so make sure to check that out. But again, Craigslist is a great way to find a lot of listings for rentals and short-term leases, but do bear in mind that some people do try to scam you on there. There are some phony listings, but I would recommend it. I think it's fine, as long as you, again, follow my tips in that video and make sure that you're protecting yourself. There's also sites like Sublet.com. I didn't have too much luck on those sites, but I did find that there were some listings that I didn't see on other sites, so that was a good benefit. There's obviously sites like AirBnB or HomeAway where it's more of a vacation rental. These are better for shorter term trips as opposed to month, while they do still have those. But those are always a great option in terms of the all-inclusive home away from home type of experience. I actually had really good luck on a site called FurnishFinder.com. That site, I believe, specializes in travel nursing housing. So basically it's just short-term housing, all-inclusive, amenities, that sort of thing. And it's, again, kind of like Airbnb or HomeAway, but I found the prices there to be really reasonable and some of the tenants renting out the places to be very welcoming and responsive to messages. So that is a site that I hadn't really heard of before, but I would definitely recommend. This isn't sponsored. I don't have any subscribers or anything. How could I be sponsored? But FurnishFinder.com, check it out. But the most success that I actually had was on Facebook. So Facebook Marketplace has become a leader in these listings of not just things for sale, but also these rentals. I found my sublet through an old Facebook group. So I went to school in LA, and I'm still part of like our free and for sale group. And around this time of year, students are usually subletting their places because they're going home for the summer to visit family. So usually around this time in that group, a lot of people are posting, and that's how I was able to find my sublet for such a cheap price. So definitely do your research on Facebook, whether you're part of groups or you're just perusing Marketplace. And finally, the last tip for this part, I guess, would be flexible with your dates. So if you have hard move-in dates, like I have to move in by July 1st, you might be limiting yourself to only certain listings that have like a mid-June or July kind of move-in date. So the more flexible you are, the more likely you'll be able to find a place, because some tenants need to leave and get out all their stuff before you can move in. So just be mindful of that, and also keep in mind that the more flexible you are, the greater chance you might have to get a discount. So for example, with all the students going home for the summer, as it's getting closer and closer to their flights to go back home, they start lowering their prices because they just want to make some type of money back on their rent just by letting you sublet. So the longer you wait and the more last minute you can get in, knowing that kind of any move-in date works for you, the more chance you might have to get a discount and save a little bit of money. The third tip I have for you guys would be to get all of the details of your stay in a written subletters agreement. So I went earlier this week to the place where I'll be staying this summer, and I did a walkthrough with the subtenants to make sure that everything was aligned, and there was a written agreement that we both had to look over and agree to make sure we were on the same page. So the agreement was really detailed. As you can see, it's several pages long, but it just covers basic information about my stay. So, this includes whether or not utilities would be included, method of payment, whether or not I would have a deposit or pay in full, or how I would go about those payments. It also talked about, if there was an issue with the apartment, such as a leak or a problem with the oven, if I would contact them or the landlord. So during this meeting, I actually did meet the landlord and got his number just in case anything were to go wrong. I can go through him. But getting everything in writing just really reduces any kind of risk to you as the subtenant, because everything's in writing, you know exactly what you're getting yourself into, and it minimizes any kind of questions in the air, and make sure that the people that you're renting from don't have to worry about you calling them every 10 seconds, asking them a question that could have been easily covered in a written agreement. Some other things included, move in or move out dates, as well as a checklist of a walkthrough in terms of the condition and quality of the apartment. So what I mean by that is, we did a walkthrough where I pointed out any damage to the apartment beforehand with the subletters, so that way they can't come back and blame any of that damage on me when they return into their home. This was also really important doing this walkthrough because it gives you an idea of the items that you do need to bring and items that you don't need to bring. So for example, the place that I'm staying in, they'll be providing me with hangers and an iron, kitchen equipment such as spatulas and utensils, plates, cups, pots, and pans. Those would all be provided for me. However, I did need to bring my own bedding because they wanted to put their own personal bedding into storage. And I would also need to bring my own cleaning supplies. So doing this walkthrough is really important so that way you're not overpacking or underpacking or thinking, oh dang, like I should have brought my vacuum, when really they weren't providing it for you. So doing a walkthrough and getting all of these details in writing is really important, so that way you can go into your stay with the utmost confidence and knowing what you're getting yourself into. The last step would be just getting all of the tools that you need to actually move in. So this would include keys to the apartment or keys to the mailbox if you'll be getting any mail sent there. This includes any necessary passwords such as getting into the laundry facilities, garage clickers, or Wi-Fi passwords. This would also include any instructions for some of the equipment that they'll be leaving for you. So for me, that included how to restart the Wi-Fi if necessary, how to use the Chromecast, or how to use their dimmer switches because they were kind of hidden. So getting all of these necessary directions so that way your move-in will be seamless and without any kind of questions. So once you have all these, then you're ready to start getting packed up like we are here and moving into your summer sublet.
Car is locked and loaded. All our groceries, suitcases, ready to go.
Another tip for you guys would be to pack lightly. When you're getting a short-term rental, that means that another move is on the horizon. So just make it as easy on yourself as possible and pack lightly. Don't bring all your possessions and just keep it limited to what you'll actually use. So leave things at home like home decor. You don't need lamps or plants or things that only serve the function of just being aesthetically pleasing. Sure, bring a picture frame or a candle if those smaller things are gonna make you feel more at home, but leave the bulkier items at home. Like, you don't need big old mirrors or big pieces of furniture just because they're pretty. Make sure you focus on things that are actually gonna bring you function while you're in your short-term rental. Also keep in mind, the season that you'll be staying in. So for example, I'm staying here for the summer, so I know I'm not gonna need my big bulky winter jackets. I didn't pack my rain boots. I'm not bringing a bunch of sweatshirts. I know that it's gonna be mostly sunny here, so I packed for that. So just keep in mind the environment that you'll be in, the season. I also know, thinking ahead to like some of the activities that I'm gonna be doing, I packed my hiking boots, but I didn't pack a bunch of dresses and pairs of heels because I know that in the 2.5 months I'm gonna stay here that I won't necessarily use those. So this applies to, outfits and shoes as well. Really pack to what you'll actually be doing during your short-term rental and what's gonna be useful to you. Other things to not bring would be kitchen appliances. So I didn't bring my panini maker because am I really gonna get that much use out of a panini maker in the next 2.5 months? No. But if there are things that are important to you, such as a French press or maybe like your very specific spatula, smaller things you can bring, but again, do your research with your specific sublet, see what is provided, and then plan accordingly. But for the most part, just kind of break it down to basics and what you think you'll need and what you'll actually use during your short-term rental. When shopping for your needs, really assess the supplies that you're only going to need. So evaluate the cooking, cleaning, and lifestyle items you'll actually be using, make a list, and head to the store. When you go there, only buy small amounts. Do not buy in bulk. It's gonna be way easier to buy more items later than to waste money now on items you may end up not using. So this includes, paper towels, toilet paper, trash bags, or even laundry detergent. If you must buy things that aren't necessities but will make the place feel more like home, go ahead and do that, but make sure that they're small and easy to pack up again. So things like candles or picture frames, and not plants or lamps or things that are gonna be trickier to move once your sublease is up. Another big tip I would have for you guys would be to meal prep. So I've been meal prepping for years just because I find that it saves me time and it takes the guesswork out of having to make food during the week when I should be focusing on working and doing other things. So I've been meal prepping for a while, but I also understand that it is pretty intensive if you don't do it regularly. So my biggest recommendation would be to meal plan. So when you go to the grocery store, go in with a simple list of meals that you can make throughout the week. And ideally, if you can learn to eat the same thing every day, the more money you'll save and the less food that you'll waste. So go into the grocery store with a list, plan out what you're gonna get, and try to avoid buying foods just in case. So I don't like to go to the grocery store without a plan and think, oh, maybe I'll make burgers this week. So you buy meat and tomatoes and lettuce and buns. And then you think, oh, and then I'll make pasta one night. So you buy pasta, pasta sauce, mushrooms. Then you end up with a fridge full of food and ingredients that you're probably not gonna get through by the end of the week before it goes bad. So going in with a plan really eliminates the guesswork and make sure that you don't waste any money. If you do have the urge to buy foods just in case, really try to focus on non-perishable foods or foods that can be frozen. So I did buy things like top ramen and tuna to keep in the pantry, or frozen fruits and vegetables and meats for those nights that I just don't want to eat what I've meal prepped. But again, just going in with a plan and knowing what you're going to be eating throughout the week really makes a difference. Also keep in mind that you really should avoid buying a bunch of ingredients just to fulfill a recipe. So while I know that you might have the urge to, you finally got a kitchen to yourself, so you really want to bake a bunch of muffins and cupcakes, really think to yourself, am I gonna get through this whole bag of flour or this whole bag of sugar by the end of my sublet? Because if you don't, that's just more things that you either have to leave behind and lose money on, or pack up oddly. So I learned this lesson when I once was super determined to make my own curry, that I bought, I think, 5 or 6 different spices just to create one big spice. And then when it came time to move out of my place, I had to awkwardly pack up 6 different spices and take up valuable room in my packing boxes. So just something to keep in mind. Basically, whatever you don't use, by the end of your lease, you're gonna lose money on. So the more you can plan and the more you can just eat the same foods in different variations throughout the week, the more money you'll save. All right, and those were my tips, tricks, and how-tos in terms of subletting an apartment. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm really excited that now that I'm in this giant 1-bedroom apartment all to myself, to really spend the summer, practicing this whole YouTube thing, making some fun videos, and creating some exciting content for you guys. Like the how to not get scammed on Craigslist video that I did recently. Make sure to check that out because your girl was like this close to losing out on some money. So learn from my mistakes and make sure to check out that video. But again, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you'll join me in the future for some more fun how-tos on how to live your best life. Toodles! You guys, look at my pepperoni. It's doubled. It's like a golden ticket, right? What do I win, Kroger? What do I win?